Assalamu alaikum to another episode of Ramadan Radio. It's your host, Guled Ahmed, and this year's Ramadan Radio, as you might know, we interview Muslim professionals from different industries and different backgrounds. We exchange ideas and knowledge and hoping to collaborate, inshallah, in the future in different projects. So with me today is Bilal Dean, who is a student in Aalto University, and also with me is Hamza, who is actually my colleague and my good friend back from when we used to study. We used to be in same class. First of all, I'd like to ask Bilal to introduce himself and tell me how he ended up starting university in Finland.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. As my name has already been said, I will not say that again. I'll just focus on the other parts of my intro. So I'm currently studying nanotechnology and electronics at Aalto University, and I'm doing my master's in that department. And I completed my bachelor's degree in electronics engineering, which is actually what brought me to Finland. So I moved to Finland back in 2018, and I moved here for university. And when I moved here, I studied electronics engineering. And once I graduated in electronics engineering, I was working for a bit as an electronics repair production specialist and as an electronics engineering intern in Kone as well. And I thought that the field of nanotechnology was very interesting, as it was a bit of a new field and a field that hasn't been around a very long time, or there's not a lot of information or research that has been done on it. So I thought that, this seems really interesting. The manipulation of matter at such small scales and the amazing things you can do with such small particles of matter. So I thought that, this is very interesting, and that is why I decided to specialize in that now during my master's. And
Sounds really interesting. Half of those things went way over my head, but it's amazing to see young Muslim specializing and being in the forefront of innovation. And regarding innovation, Hamza here, he's not just a doctor, he's also entrepreneur and also interested about combining health and technology. And there's a pre-incubator that Hamza has been following and has actually teamed up with myself and Bilal and to take part in. Could you tell us more about this and also introduce yourself?
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As Guled already introduced me, my name is Hamsa Hassan. I'm a medical doctor. We studied together with Guled abroad. We had a great 6 years together, alhamdulillah. And if I quickly just talk about the health incubator that Guled already discussed. We just saw this post or we just saw it online. I saw it and we went through it with Guled, and we just discussed, is there any problems we can solve in our field? So we just started talking about our daily work and does it consist of. And we came to a conclusion that a lot of our time, our valuable time, goes to typing or documenting the contact with the patient. And we made some research, and we found that roughly around 50% of the daily time a physician uses, we use that time to type in or document the patient contact, and this time is out of basically out of the pocket of the patient, so there's less patient doctor contact. And we came up with the idea to solve this problem, and the idea was simply a AI assisted voice to text converter, and we are currently trying to develop this idea, and see how it goes and where it takes us.
Thank you, Hamza. Regarding AI, I remember a few weeks back I was in an event organized by Movot, a youth organization working on empowering youth and their values. And I remember Bilal was on the stage, and he said that anyone who wants to talk about AI with him is welcome. And that's why when I went and approached him, can you tell me about your relationship with AI so far?
Okay, that's a very specific detail, Mr. Guled, but I guess I'll accept it. But yes, so everything Guled said is right. I did say all of these words, and probably even more, because lately I have been quite indulged in the field of AI. My first experience, actually, my first conscious experience, I suppose, with AI was the using these open AI technologies that were launched about a few months ago, last year, towards the end of last year, and I found it to be very, very fascinating. And that is not to say that AI hadn't been around a long time. It's been around for a longer time, but just in different aspects than we might be used to. So getting exposed to these, Dale and Midjourney and ChatGPT was something that was really very super eye-opening. It just blew my mind. And everything just started to follow. A few weeks later, I signed up for this one study session in Budapest. It was basically titled Debugging Artificial Intelligence. So sort of regulating artificial intelligence from ethics and principles and human rights perspective. And it was very interesting because the entire time that I was using these AI systems, I just thought, oh, this is cool, man. This is amazing. I can get a lot of work done. I can do a lot of cool stuff. But never really thought about, okay, how do these damage, for instance, the society? Like who faces the negative aspects of AI? Who is at a disadvantage by all this development of this AI? And this event basically was telling us everyone who is in that position. So we learned a lot of really interesting things about the implementations of AI, how AI is implemented in immigration, in social welfare, in social media, social services. So it was a very eye-opening experience, because we really got to learn that, as much as impressive as AI is, it is just as destructive. So we got to be careful about the way that we use AI. And in fact, I'm currently reading this one book called Scary Smart, and it's a very interesting book. It really basically, Mr. Mo Gaudat, I don't know if he will ever hear this, but he basically explains thoroughly how AI is like a child right now, because he explains the steps of AI. The first mention of AI happened back in 1950, and we've only made real progress in AI after 2022. So for all of those years, over 50 years, it was just a concept. There were like a few developments, but nothing really impressive or mind-blowing, until the machines adopted a concept of deep learning back in 2020. And as soon as they adopted this learning mechanism, it was over. In 2022, it's like AI has been exponentially rising. The use of AI, its implementation, its capabilities, they're just in a few months. GPT-4, for instance, which is the latest release of ChatGPT. If any of you have used it, you will see how impressive it is. Its reasoning capacity, its ability to remember, it's really, it's insane, right? So this is only a few months after this, like, these machines have, for instance, perfected the concept of deep learning, and they're able to do this. So imagine what is the world going to look like 5 years from now with AI in it. In fact, like in that book that I'm reading, it's very interesting because it begins the way Mr. Mo begins the book. He's like, okay, imagine it's the year 2065, right? We're sitting at a campfire in the middle of nowhere, and there's one of two scenarios happening. Either the machines got really smart and they're hunting us down and we're hiding, or the other scenario is like we managed to train the machines in a good way that they built the world. They built like a utopia for us. They built the world so they're working and we're just on vacation sitting next to that campfire. So this is how he begins the book, and he says that this is what is going to happen with the world, and now with the rise of AI, one of these two things is going to happen. With how smart machines are coming in 2070 or 65, we're going to be wondering, like, so he's basically, in that book, he says it's basically up to us to make sure that AI doesn't get there, and it's very interesting because now a lot of people think that, okay, the people who develop the AI can just write the code and make it not go crazy or like kill humans in the future or whatever. But like AI is already past that point. People who develop AI algorithms, they don't have any more power over AI anymore because it's using deep learning now. So it's learning from the information on the internet. So imagine all the messed up information there is on the internet. Imagine if AI gets to a point where it decides, okay, I see a lot of violence. It seems humans prefer violence. It seems they only listen with violence. How are machines going to respond to that? So my question to you, whoever is listening, is how are we going to teach these machines the concepts of love and compassion and decency and empathy and all of this? How are we going to do that? Because I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out, but
And I'm starting to get scared now. It's very interesting points there, and I can see that that's really something that's close to your heart. Basically, regarding these people that are disadvantaged, I'm just guessing that most likely they are those who do not have access to technology, internet so far. Maybe face recognition regarding people with darker skin.
Yes.
And yeah. So what should we do basically to counter that? Could be the actions that we're supposed to take.
Well, in that regard, there's been a few suggestions of solutions to that. For instance, by now, whilst we can still train the AI models, because obviously it's not going to be for long that we can train them, it's going to get to a point where they just learn and they don't need us. They don't need us to give them data to analyze. They're just going to be learning everything on their own. So now at this point, we can only basically train them on a diverse set of data. For instance, in facial recognition in the US and the UK, there's been cases where like the facial recognition AI assisted cameras, for instance, they every time they would point towards a black person or like a dark skinned person, they would automatically say, oh, this is high risk. This is a high risk person. Like this, they would sort of like misidentify that individual. Like maybe relate them to some other criminal that did a lot of crime. So it's really messed up. How biased so far they've been, but we can try to change that by like training these data sets on a lot of like diverse data sets, and also by involving people of these diverse people, people of all backgrounds in for instance, in the developing of these AI systems, in the coding or in the regulations. Like, we have to spread or raise this awareness that they need to be there in the background, in the people who make this stuff. Otherwise, if you're not at the table, you're in the menu. So, you know.
I understand you talking about menus during Ramadan. Regarding being on the table, Hamza, you're really active on this technology and health aspects, and you follow these different incubators. But I think, as far as I have understood, the people that I know from the Muslim community, not everyone is active in that way. It feels like all people do is copy each other instead of thinking outside the box. How would you advise those people that are just inside that narrow vision that, okay, we're doing a certain thing that someone else that I know did, instead of maybe approaching new places?
Yeah, that's really a great question. As a healthcare professional, I can just generally talk about the aspect of health combined with technology. That's the future. We all know that health tech is definitely something that is bringing more value to the health sector, as well as bringing more value to, if we're talking about the patient care and generally developing the whole health scenarios. And I believe that this can be really implemented with the AI technology that Bilal was really talking about. And I would suggest people to really think outside the box. It's very important. Most of the ideas that we see, or most of the businesses we see today in the world, they've really came out from thinking outside the box. So to all the Muslim youngsters that are really either interested in technology, or whether it's health technology, whether it's fin technology, whatever it is, or AI, they really just should try to focus on solving the problems, daily problems, as most of the, let's say, the apps or the technology we use today, they are here to solve our daily problems and make our daily work or daily lives easier and more smooth. So just trying to solve a problem we are daily facing could be really revolutionary. So I would really suggest that to young Muslims.
Cool. Okay. Regarding Hamza, your day, now that you're working full time and it's a Ramadan, what do you do during the lunchtime?
That's a very good question, because I've never really thought about it like that. But unfortunately, I do work. It's simple as that. You know, I just use that time to maybe do certain tasks, and maybe do tomorrow's list of work, or some, list of work I haven't done on time. So I just make most of that time, and it's better for me to work during that time than just sit around and think about food.
That's a good point. What about you, Bilal? Tell me your tips to stay energized, stay focused during Ramadan, to be able to read and study AI. What's your life hacks during Ramadan?
Actually, I think it's more, this is like a bit of a spiritual question. So the way that I'm able to just function throughout the day is from the perspective of spirituality. Like, I have goals that I'm trying to, for instance, attain this Ramadan. Like, okay, I'm trying to get maybe this amount of Quran in, or like I'm trying to do this. So and realizing that every minute you can benefit from it, like you can get a lot of rewards from it. So it motivates you to just stay active, because there's a lot of really interesting lectures in this Ramadan. My favorite of all time, I think all of my friends are tired of like me talking about this man, but Sheikh Dr. Omar Sulaiman, he has a lot of amazing lectures. And basically what I do when I get a little bit hungry throughout the day, I just put on one of his lectures and I start listening, and I just forget about the hunger. I'm just okay. And besides, this Ramadan is a bit shorter for us, because like in Finland, the closer Ramadan is towards the summer, the worse it is. So this year it's been pretty chill. It's been pretty easy for me. I just listen to those lectures, and then I get to do. And also, I really enjoy learning about AI. So it's a no-brainer for me.
Thanks. And to wrap up, Hamza, what would be your advice to those thinking of making that same company that their friends has made? We both know that most of the doctors are making companies regarding putting doctors to work, or renting workforce. What would your advice be to all those that made these same type of companies?
Well, I'll just come back to my previous response, and it's simple as I've already said. Just think outside the box and try to implement a new idea, and try to solve a problem. That really can be a commercialized product. If you can solve a problem, it definitely will sell. So if I just say it shortly, just focus on the problems and solving the problems of our daily lives, and yeah, I'm sure it will sell, inshallah.
Thanks. And how about Bilal? I have a question for you. When will the AI make us unemployed?
I think some people are already unemployed. But I don't know. Like it's. I mean, it's happening, I think, already, but it's gonna start to happen more rapidly sooner rather than later, man. It could be next month. I don't know. It could be next week, next year. So at this point, it really depends on how we as humans like train these machines, or like like I don't know, like restrict their abilities, or it's hard to tell for sure. It's hard to tell.
Yes, so that's that about this time's Ramadan Radio episode. Thank you for listening, and I'll thank my guests Hamza and Bilal for giving us some wisdom. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.